So you may have heard that Tommy Robinson has announced a carol service for this Saturday in central London. The official publicity for the carol service states this service is not about politics, immigration, or other groups. It is about Jesus Christ fully and completely. Now, Tommy Robinson says he converted to Christianity in prison earlier this year. That's not something that I am going to attempt to judge or to evaluate. I don't think it's my place to do that. But I do think it's important to test the fruit of that conversion. The gospel tells us in Luke that we will know a tree by its fruit. And so I do want to consider that when thinking about the carol service on Saturday and the fruit of some of the activity Tommy Robinson has carried out since he converted. I also don't want to dwell in this space for too long because we are keen to tell a better story, not to dwell on some of the other stories being told. So this will probably be a one-off kind of thing. But there were three aspects of the carol service and some of the lead up to it that I was quite keen to think about in this video. The first was what the public invitation said versus what the more private invitation said. The second is what happened at the previous Unite the Kingdom rally, which is a kind of banner under which this carol service is happening. And the third is some of the activity that Tommy Robinson has been partaking in, particularly in the social media world over recent weeks and months. And I think those three things show us a bit of the fruit and why it is important for Christians to discern when people are using Christian symbols and Christian language, what their actual intention is. So if we start with the invitation, what was said publicly versus what has been said in a more kind of private invitation. So as I said, the official publicity said this service is not about politics, immigration, or other groups. It is about Jesus Christ fully and completely. However, emails that Tommy Robinson sent out said the left-wing elites are waging a ruthless war on Christianity, tearing down our crosses and silencing our prayers in the name of their globalist agenda. Lefty cities like Sheffield, brackets, which has a Muslim mayor, have cancelled their Christmas lights this year. Christmas is slowly being rebranded as winter holidays by left-wing anti-Christian bigots. But we will not yield our Christian heritage. Demands we fight back with unyielding resolve. Again, the flyer explicitly says that this is not about immigration, this carol service, but his emails say this isn't just a concert, it's a rally for our values, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of mass migration and cultural erosion that threatens our way of life. But hear me, this concert is more than music. It's a statement that Britain belongs to British people and our Christian heritage will not be silenced. Sadiq Khan doesn't own London, he is a colonizer and unwelcome guest. Yet he thinks he can dictate when we hold patriotic events. He will hate the fact that real Christians are celebrating Christmas on his patch. Again, Tommy Robinson has claimed that it's not about immigration, but explicitly calls out mass migration in his private emails to his followers and talks about Sadiq Khan being a colonizer and an unwelcome guest. To me, that sounds a lot like a Christmas carol service that is about politics and immigration, and also sounds like a carol service that is very, very, very distant to the Christian values that I know, which include Matthew 25 and the call to welcome strangers, the Good Samaritan and the call to see the other as merciful. So that is the invitation and the discrepancy between what was said publicly and what was said privately. And I think there's also a really important point in there about integrity. And if you're going to say things in your emails in private, I think it's important that the public invitation reflects that. Otherwise, there's a danger that we as Christians are misled and we think the carol service is one thing when it's actually something else. And it has different intentions and a different outworking. So that is some of what the email said. I also think it's important to consider the previous Unite the Kingdom rally that happened in London. I know lots of people in London found that day quite frightening. Lots of the refugees and asylum seekers we know found that day quite frightening. And I think that was not without merit. So 26 police officers were injured. There were bottles thrown at police. There were cans thrown at police as Unite the Kingdom protesters. I think there were over 100,000 of them attempted to break through the police cordon. A man at that Unite the Kingdom protest was filmed shouting, "Keir Starmer needs to be assassinated. Someone needs to shoot Keir Starmer." Um, and then some of the people who were platformed at that march said, Tommy Robinson himself said, "It's not just Britain that is being invaded. It's not just Britain that is being raped. Every single Western nation faces the same problem: an orchestrated, organised invasion and replacement of European citizens is happening." Similarly, Valentina Gomez, a woman running for Congress in Texas, said, "England, they took your guns, they took your swords, and they raped your women. You have nothing else to lose. There's still hope." And later on says, "Send all of these dirty Muslims and Sharia rugs back to their dirty nations." That was what was said at the last Unite the Kingdom rally. I think when we're thinking about knowing a tree by its fruit, and the fruit of Christ that we know being love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, self-control, some of the rhetoric and language being used at these the previous United the Kingdom rally and in the emails sent out by Tommy Robinson and his organisation feel quite antithetical to those fruits of the Spirit. They feel Islamophobic, they feel angry, they feel racist, they feel, not aligned to teachings in the Bible about welcoming the stranger, about every single human being having value and dignity and being made in the image of God, about the Good Samaritan and the fact that the other should be seen as merciful. So that is my second point about the previous United Kingdom rally and what was said there, and the kind of rhetoric that was used in that space. I think the third point I wanted to make was just about some of the activity that has been carried out by particularly Tommy Robinson on social media. So I'd seen over previous weeks that there was this father and his non-verbal autistic son that were going into mosques, and they were handing out cake, and they were trying to build hope and resilience within communities and unity where there is so much division. And I saw that they shared a post just a day ago. It's an account called the Joshi Man, where Tommy Robinson had tweeted, "Father takes his non-verbal autistic son to virtue signal at Regent's Park Mosque." And this silly virtue signaling father has taken his non-verbal autistic son to simp for a mosque that is led by someone with links to the Muslim Brotherhood. Let that sink in. And then the account, the Joshua Man, says that they have already been receiving death threats, threats of violence, posts and comments with horrific language about his non-verbal autistic son and disgusting malicious allegations. I think those three things, the email that was sent out and how different that is to the public invitation, and the lack of integrity in that difference, the previous United the Kingdom rally and the language that was used about our neighbours and the people in our communities and the divisiveness of it, and then some of the activity on social media, like calling out a father and his non-verbal autistic son for going to a mosque and handing out cake. None of that feels aligned with the life and teachings of Jesus and what he calls us to, and the love that he calls us to, loving neighbours, loving enemies. So as I've been thinking and reflecting on this weekend on Saturday on the carol service, and thinking about those three things, it's left me feeling really sad that that's going to happen in the city, and that people in the city are going to feel frightened. And it's also left me feeling like I want to do something, and I want to tell people some of this information, because if you just saw the public invitation and all the vicars and priests and bishops in dog collars on that public invitation, you might have quite a different impression of what Saturday is, relative to if you had read about the last event, and if you'd seen what the original kind of email sent out by Tommy Robinson said. So I just wanted to share some of that, and to kind of share what was in my thinking at the moment. Thanks.